I need to go back to the math because nobody, and this is on the Chinese people. This is on the Chinese people. They're the greatest. The Chinese people, go back to the math. 100 million they've killed, famine, concentration camps, Cultural Revolution, firing squads, all of it. But then, and nobody talks about this, 400 million people in the one-child policy, mainly through late-stage abortion. Stephen Mosher?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to add that to the death toll. And this was the doing of the Chinese Communist Party on the grounds that the excuse was the only way they could develop China was by radically reducing the number of babies born, as if the birth of babies who are the ultimate resource. They grow up into productive human beings who produce more than they consume. The Chinese people being among the most productive, enterprising, hardworking people on the planet. The Chinese Communist Party wantonly killed 400 million of the most productive, enterprising people on the planet. And now, of course, they have a dying population, an excess of men, which I believe feeds into the aggressiveness that we see on the part of the Chinese Communist Party right now. You've got tens of millions of young men running around who will not be able to find brides ever. Their brides, the young women that they would have married, were killed before and right after birth by female infanticide, by sex-selective abortion. So you've got a lot of excess testosterone running around China, and the Chinese Communist Party, I think, is increasingly ready to unleash it on not just Taiwan, but on wider parts of the world as well. But 500 million, a half billion people, the greatest killing machine in human history has been the Chinese Communist Party. It has been a killing machine since its founding. There were purges, mass murders in the 30s in the so-called red base areas. There was mass murder as soon as they took power. In the 1950s, with the killing of what they called landlords. People who owned small plots of land were called landlords and killed by the millions. There was the identification of one class enemy after another. You see, the Chinese Communist Party, like all communist parties, is a war party. It has to be at war, either at home or abroad, at all periods of time. And so at home, it identifies a class enemy, and it targets that class, and it eliminates that class. And this happened in the Cultural Revolution. It's happening now with regard to the Uyghurs, the Tibetans, the Mongols in northern China. They're all being targeted for gradual genocide. So this is how the system, the Communist Party, maintains its totalitarian control over the Chinese people. The mayor of Beijing just said that we're going to have to maintain the COVID zero policy for another 5 years. What is that but another way of maintaining the muscular tone of the system by telling the Chinese people, we can lock you up in your apartments at any moment of any day and keep you there for weeks on end, even if you starve to death in the meantime. So this is the kind of system that is not content with just governing 1.4 billion Chinese. It wants to govern the entire world. It sees the United States as its ultimate enemy, and it wants to ultimately destroy us and be the dominant power on the planet. They've made no secret of these plans. All we have to do is what I've done, and that is read what the Chinese Communist Party leaders themselves are saying. And they will understand, people will understand in the United States, that this is the real existential threat to the United States. It is a threat to our very existence as a free people.